disregarded. This brings me to the second thing, institutions. The institutions governing low-cost housing delivery in South Africa are made up and designed in terms of the understanding that I've already outlined. In other words, they're designed to eradicate shacks and deliver houses. Up to now, the Federation in South Africa has only managed to moderate what the current housing delivery system does by adding various other relatively peripheral institutional arrangements to this primary objective. So the institutional arrangements that govern housing delivery in South Africa are still predicated on this position of saying eradicate shacks, roll out housing. And the Federation has been able to say, okay, within that framework, how can we have an impact on those institutions? And to date, the impacts that they have had have been successful for an institution of the Federation scale, but really are still really very peripheral to the way in which the South African housing delivery process does its business. So the challenge is that until such time as the institutional arrangements open up to create space for a housing process that is incremental, that upgrade settlements where they are rather than distant locations to the periphery and are driven by a people-centered process, the Federation has a limited ability to be able to create opportunities for its process to go to scale. In spite of that, I think that this is where the South African Federation is making its most vital contribution, because even though its work in numbers is relatively small, producing 11,000 housing units at the same time that the state has used the private sector to deliver maybe 2 million housing units, the Alliance keeps on showing the state that there are better alternatives to eradication and mass delivery, and that these alternatives are better in terms of the things that really matter. Because what the Federation delivers are integrated and inclusive neighborhoods based on informed and self-conscious communities who are able to become agents of change. And that is totally lacking in the mass delivery of housing that characterizes the South African government's approach. Similarly, if people's organizations choose to give their problems to the institutions that the state have currently designed and asks them to deliver the solutions themselves, then they should not be surprised when these institutions deliver solutions that actually work against them. And this is the crisis that community organizations and social movements are facing in South Africa at the moment. If they demand delivery from government, from housing and related institutions as they stand, it'll be a case of accepting what solutions are dished out to them, or be frustrated, excluded, and even intimidated. So the crux of the issue here is simple. If we want to get better designed cities with poor people participating in development and governance, we need to ensure that the institutions that problem solve urban poverty issues for us are institutions that are designed and built specifically for these purposes. If we want sustainable people-centered development and better designed cities, we have no choice, and this is the critical lesson that SDI has taught the South African process. We have no choice but to engage very seriously, both in reforming our existing institutions and in building new ones. We can't possibly change them by trying to blame them for their failures and waiting for them to deliver. That simply will not work. And I think it's these challenges that the South African Federation is really committed to, working within these institutions to be able to change them.